But I'm watching this FNCS. How do I? How do I? Okay, whatever. Missed it.
They're just too fixated on trying to maintain their shields. Finally,
Yeah, boy's been cracked.
had it open, but immediately losing more HP than what he bargained for. Shields will be replenished. Firing in picks. A couple of tags in.
Alright, I hope I don't get like copyrighted.
Right over that search threshold, and I could already mention they do have that bending to.
Okay, let me sit down.
Lost, but still would have preferred for sure to just
Smart.
go for that kind of exposure, especially knowing that they're going to have to continue looking for those additional shots. But for Dinas and Fernet,
Let me just record.
this might be part of the reason why Nathan and Nebs just punished, looking to
Whoa, wow. Let me just actually commentate. I'm not very close on my monitor.
right away. Poor Nebs just as a solo.
A lot of people. That's.
This one through, but we know just how brutal it
I would have marked that place because if you like low, just run back over there, get some heals. Then some.
Willpower involved here. See how far you can really take it. Savage truly 93 above. Trying to go for a bit of a wraparound here, but realizing that they need to start utilizing some of these whites. Truly a little bit lower than what he intended to be on this initial approach, and Sky Scroll, not the team
Jump
you
it.
want to see if you're
There.
a Savage and Truly fan currently, trying to create a little bit more spacing away from where they're at. Savage will invest some of their hard materials, but they are looking solid on their build count.
Problem is, look how much they've invested, right? When it comes to materials, shields, whites. They're still even in zone, and they still have to get to the safe zone, so not a great spot if you're a Mr. Savage fan. Sky and Scroll, though, I think are going to show us sort of how to do it, right? As far as how to make this rotation work. We saw them do this quite a bit in Grand. They're just going to tank here in the Storm a bit more, wrap around just a bit more, and when the time comes just to cut back into the safe zone, they will, and didn't use as many mats, won't use as many shields, and just a medkit popped each will be enough to put them in a really good spot moving forward in this game.
Sky definitely wants that chance to heal, though, and he'll find it. He's going to forfeit that ultimate height, allow Flixie to take it just because he understands when to pick his battles, but with Sky and Scroll now back up and healthy, Truly Savage, unfortunately, might be finding themselves having to pick up where they last left off. Sky and Scroll have just been softly trailing them because of just, like you'd already highlighted, Levin, their excellent usage of movements and understanding when and where they need to invest for their builds. But for Doxy, losing Medius just now against the likes of Savage and Truly, he's just a bit pinned down here, 349 up below. Not gonna allow anyone to take over his builds. Quite a lot of material there. Don't know if anybody will realize it and be able to actually pick it up though from where he actually ran out, but Twy, Cringe, just holding strong, much more separated. Chep and Flixie again, still with the highest point of view. A little bit of punish there against Pablo and Chino, and it's gonna force Chino to start make his way out. Will be forced to sit back, and this is the big reason why, though. Pablo needed that damage, but Chap immediately closing in before making their next move. There's a good frontside approach now out of Chap and Flixie, who already have 6 eliminations, by the way. Just in case you were wondering, these guys have definitely been getting active here. 172 above, though, on the surge threshold, and they recognize Teamish Darm trying to take over the high ground position because they wanted to make that next move towards that front side. But Chap, Flixie looking back, steadily trying to see if they're going to get any additional damage here. But they know they don't want to spend too much time behind where the rest of the pack is moving. Sky Scroll, though, it's almost like calm before the storm. Tell that they are really waiting for the perfect opportunity to take over that frontside low position as Izzy and Nosif resuming where we last left off. Obviously having to get a little bit more involved with where the rest of these teams are at, but still a bit isolated in comparison to some of this lobby congestion. Izzy looking down now, doesn't get the opportunity though to try and take out Finchik. Pixie and Swizzy also rather isolated too, but Savage truly, clock's ticking. They need more damage, only 20 above currently, and so many teams just hopping straight into the rift, trying to see just how long they can delay, but with everyone kind of just hovering overhead, Height is going to be a mess in a moment.
This is not a game I was expecting to see. It looks almost a bit like some of the reload games we've watched this year, Taco. Half the lobby in the skies. And like you rightfully said, it means the initial drop down is so chaotic where everybody chooses to land. Becomes so awkward if you are one of those teams on the height. You gotta make sure you've been hitting the practice correctly. And look who comes out on top of it. It's Malibuca and Vico, our Summit champions, who you have to say had quite a disappointing Major 2 final. And maybe this is their chance to remind everybody of who they are.
One thing's for sure, ever since Major 2 finals concluded, Vico has been on the grind. And you have to remember, they are another one of those duos out there in Austria currently. So it'll be interesting to see just how far they actually plan on taking this from the high ground. But Teeny, no Shark, means that he'll be left to do it all by himself. He's got a tarp, he's got a frag, and he's got to create some space. But he does find a little bit of wiggle room here, trying to get some tags in onto Swizzy, but Swizzy just doing an excellent job holding his walls. He's also still got his duo Pixie to work with. Kaiser's immediately collected. Teams that are starting to trickle in a little bit after the fact being punished by the duo on height, because Vico and Malibuca are not letting anyone cross over without having to take in some additional damage here. But Mr. Savage, 0 builds remaining, trying to collect whatever he can find, whether it's a tree that he has to chomp at the final seconds here. Fortunately for Savage, the zone pulling away, where he can look back, trying to get whatever damage he can. He needs somebody to go down to one of these shotgun pumps, but it's just not unfolding in his favor. Huddy and Fishy, though, you would think that they've taken the Sky and Scroll masterclass, because these guys doing what they can to hold it down. Huddy's not going to be able to stay strong, though. Fishy immediately trying to see if he can counteract it, but ultimately he'll have to leave his duo behind here because Twy has played spoiler. Fishy still trying to close in. Fishy does get the better end of that exchange. The Siphon will take over. Savage still hoping to have a very similar fate here. The backside of zone, though, things are going to be so complicated. Doesn't get the chance to actually try and close in on Akira. Knows there's a player on his wall, but he can't actually break through. And by the time he gets it, he's brought down for it. As now only Vico and Malibuca, seemingly one of the only healthy duos in this lobby, while Fishy just continues trying to see how many more placement points he can rack up.
Fishy, he's done well up to this point, but a tough task ahead. This zone is so awkward with the mountain in the way. He's gonna get stuck below. We're seeing that same fate for others. Firing, Falls, Gabix will quickly follow. Zangi won't be there to trade him out, but he will do his best to just heal off, stay alive. Dinas will do the same. Cammy falls at the hands of Vico. And it's up to Vico and Malibuca now to try and close this game out. They spot the solos out. Frantic and Dinas, one of the few duos left remaining. And so their eyes will now be focused on them.
Frantic and Dinas know that they are getting collapsed on right now, but they've managed to deal with the solo. Nice little refresh on materials here. Malibuca has gone down, and Frantic and Dinas, just like that, managed to turn the tides in their favor. That last elimination on the Zangi as a solo was a big difference maker for how their endgame actually concluded.
I mean, that is not the scenario I was expecting out of that one. Dinas and Frantic desperately needed a big game, and they desperately get it, Frankie.
They did. It's so great to see another victory royale won by an unqualified duo mini miner.
Yeah, this is exciting to see. I mean, you know, this is what this format is all about. Those individual moments, those individual games can really make all the difference. And for these guys, they actually did play in the Major 2 finals. We didn't really get to see too much from them, really. It wasn't a sort of star-studded performance, despite sort of starting the season really well. So it's nice that they've sort of reignited some of that, Takata, and sort of found a win here.
Yeah, they were in the 40th range in terms of Major 2 where they ended. So starting off game 2 with a VR, it's what you love to see. As Frank was mentioning, we've got 16 duos here that are already qualified to the Global Championship. And from the first 2 games, not a single of them won. It was all duos that have not yet qualified. So it's looking bright for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, if you were to do the maths, which I can't because I'm not very good at maths, it goes without saying. Actually, if all of those 16 duos that already qualified were to be in the top 16, you just need top 19, which isn't bad at all. And for Dinas and Frenek, they are well on their way. I think that this is a duo that, as you've already mentioned, they have experience of grand finals. But they haven't necessarily always piqued our interest, but they're grabbing our attention now, Miniminer.
Yeah, they are, and it's a really important game for them, actually, because I think they have a lot of sort of off-spawn contestation situations that are in sort of their position on the map. So making the most of the games that you are making off-spawn and the games that are sort of favorable for you in terms of zones and things like that is going to be super-duper important today for some of the teams that do have a little bit more action at the beginning of the game. I did think that Vico and Malibuca are actually going to take this game just because of their sort of experience and their positioning in this game. They're sort of playing height, but, you know, Dinas and Frenek, they played those low ground layers really well, and it seems like that's what's sort of paying dividends for a lot of our teams here today, is playing those sort of low ground layers, letting the whole lobby conclude and sort of close out the final few eliminations.
Yeah, they're going in an off-spawn situation against Pix and Feren. We did see Pix and Feren actually in the end game. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue to let each other live after the break. We've got 4 more games to go tonight, and then we'll be sending 3 more duos to the Fortnite Global Championships in Antwerp, Belgium. So let's take a look at the leaderboard. Now, this is the leaderboard of all of the duos in the lobby tonight. 16 of these duos have already
trying to sort of go for height when there's a lot of those big teams in the lobby like Vico Malibuca who just are so good at playing in that position. I think they're a sort of team that just understand, right, we just need to have 4 really solid end games, maybe 5 really solid end games to find ourselves in that top 3 over all in terms of the non-qualified teams. You don't even need to be top 3 overall. So I think they're just really smart about how they're approaching this today. The difficulty is going to be what's going to be happening off spawn. We know there's a couple of teams around them, so depends how things go there.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting for Izzy and Nosif right now. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board a little bit because, unfortunately, despite going through the low ground, again, it didn't work out for them in that last game. 20th place with only 1 elim. Maybe they'll be regretting rifting up Carter.
Yeah, I mean, so did a lot of the teams, though. It was a bit of an unfortunate end for Nosif, as you saw, completely annihilated out of the sky, caused Izzy to be low on Surge. He was kind of just put in a very, very difficult spot to clutch this up. So I'm gonna let this one slide, okay? They got 6th game 1. They ended up finishing 20th right here. Izzy went down, so it really did not come on par to the first game they had. However, you know, due to the bit of unlucky situation they were put in, unique situation, better said, I think they can still make it count.
Well, I think that Savage managed to make his 10th place clutch count because you can see that it's taking him up the leaderboard. Obviously, still away from Dinas and Frenek, but hopefully they're going to be trending upwards as we go through the next few games, Miniminer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see actually how they approach today and how they sort of continue to move through these games, because a big problem that they sort of had throughout this season was just relying too much on solo clutch. You see Truly here going down. Savage needed to do it yet again, and it's like they can't keep relying on solo clutches to make things work. Thinking beyond this, even if they do qualify through, when it comes to the Global Championships, you cannot just rely on solo clutches, I suppose, unless your name is Sky and Skull and Poyo. So it's like, that's the difficulty for them right now. Can they keep making these endgames as a duo? If they can, that's going to be the way they can propel themselves into that top 3, but it's difficult because they've got to solve problems that have sort of haunted them throughout the entire season in the next 4 games, so it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, they are on an uptrend, though. Their main issue in the grand finals was Storm Surge. They couldn't even really make end games. Right before end games, they were just already getting ticked way too much by Storm Surge. They used all the heroes, they used all their mats, they were forced into a fight. They just could not get to the end game. They started with a 19th place. They've gotten a 10th place now. They're making it to these end games. They haven't got a big pop-up game yet, but at least they're making it. So it's looking better in the grand finals, and hopefully we'll see that trend continue upwards.
I feel bad saying this out loud to Carter, but if they're not getting into the top 10 as a duo, can we really expect to see them do what's needed to get into those contention spots?
I think we can. I honestly think we can. I think 10th is actually pretty good. I think that's a good sign for game 2. And if they can break in the next games, then that should be more than enough.
I still kind of worry about that though, Miniminer, because actually I feel like that strategy is going to rely on the teams that are above them having poor games.
Yeah, it does. And I think the thing that they need to try and consider here is just making sure to have like one big pop-off game just to really launch them into that position, because you can rely on some solo clutches if you're already in that position, right? If they're in the top 3, they're a couple of points or a decent amount of points ahead of that sort of 4th place on the non-qualified team's leaderboard, then you can rely on just a couple of solo clutches to squeeze out a few. I think what they need though is that really big game, like game 1 in Grands, just to give them that little bit of a boost, to rocket them up the leaderboards, just to give them that flexibility and freedom so they don't have to play perfect Fortnite for the next 4 games. They can just have one big game, which I sort of think sort of suits their duo here.
Do we know if they're still contested? Because I think in game 1 they were surprisingly uncontested to Carter. Did we see Cringe and Volko go for them in the second game?
I think it's continued. Cringe Volko went south of Wonky Land, so we're good.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, let's see what happens to them in game number 3, because it's time to board the battle bus.
Hey, if you aren't Dinas Frenek, Huddy Fishy, or Zengi and Gabix, the race is on. Right now, that is the cutoff metric for qualification towards that global championship. And for everyone else in this lobby, it's all about playing catch up to where these guys are at. And it starts with getting off on the right foot from the get-go. As Yanis, Rex, in a bit of a pickle here now. Yan is going to get caught in the crossfire even. No options to escape. So it's all down to Rex. We know that he is a very strong fragger in his own right, but even Rax understands he can't afford to try and tango. He's going to have to forfeit Chop Shop this time around. And to sort of add a little bit more salt to the wounds here, Dex not really allowing him to budge, doesn't want to give that recovery opportunity here, even with Rax just trying to gather whatever little bits of scraps of loot on the outskirts here. Ellie and Tex just still sort of honing in on his position, and it hurts even more because Chop Shop being that legendary POI this go around could have definitely gone a long ways for them, but instead we'll have to see whether or not he can even escape as Fishy Huddy over at Wonky Land. Back-to-back matches now, Levin, of them making their presence known from the low ground. So they've certainly been hitting the drawing board for strategizing, and we can see where things went so right for Huddy and Fishy. And it was just that off spawn. Cringe Volko decided that they wanted to come back to Wonky Land, but they picked the right team to try and duke it out with. Huddy and Fishy got to be feeling really good because they didn't even eat that much return damage, if any at all. So just a lot of surge to have hot off the gate.
Yeah, that couldn't have gone any better. Like, you know, you see those guys going in and you're like, hold on a minute, what are you lot doing here? All right, I guess we got to deal with you, and deal with you they did. And for a team who, I think you'd argue probably their biggest struggle has just been consistency in early and mid games, to get that extra bit of damage tackle, it's going to go a long way. We might see a third impressive game from these two. Clearly firing today, but still much to do. The job is not finished. And that's why there is still hope for teams like Podesite and Akira. Not quite had the most amazing of starts, but also not bad either, sitting in 13th going into this game. A big game could propel them into the spots they want to be in to qualify.
Yeah, it's still early enough, since we are just now approaching that halfway metric for today's competition, that if they are able to net just a solid endgame placement, maybe a handful of eliminations to go with it, they can just catapult themselves right up that leaderboard to being in a much better spot for contention here. But for Strap Skrill, they're gonna have to deal with the likes of Jake Buka. Skrill, though, opening up, immediately eating some damage. Wasn't able to get the shot in that he'd been hoping for, as Kovacs and Jake Buka have done a great job and not only getting their surge in, but just creating a little bit of distance here now, because Skrill and Strap, they'll have to divert some of their attention over towards Lucky Diaria and Sake, who have started closing in. We knew that this part of the map was going to be very active throughout the course of today's games, but fact of the matter is, Jake Buka, Kovacs, they want nothing more to do with it. They're gonna forfeit Birders Beach and get out of Dodge while they still have a chance to. Skrill, on the other hand, just gotta fight for his own life here, but Sake and Lucky, they're just so incredibly low. Arya doing what he can to just try and get a little bit of a recovery point off the Chug Jug, but Srap from overhead, you can see he doesn't have any material to work with, so he cannot afford to get up close and personal. Doesn't want to find himself eliminated in such a crucial moment for this competition, because this is where things really start to build up gaps between teams that have already been having success here today. Then you're hoping that they just don't have a solid performance, but even then you're still just forced to try and play catch up. And for Sake and Ari, they've just been having a very difficult time with faring against so many teams.
What start it's been for this duo, Flixie Chat, first in the day so far. And I'm not gonna lie, Taco, we ain't used to seeing these guys been first in any leaderboards this year, I feel like. But hey, if there was a time to show that they are still a top duo, it would be now, right? Obviously, team that is qualified already, but one that has yet to show us, I think, their best this year. What are they going to do here up against Axe-Force, though, is the question. Is this just a hot start to the day that fizzles out into nothing, or are they here to play and win first place?
They're going to need to continue that consistency if they want to bring home that 40K prize pool. still. Other duos, just a little bit of a different predicament here. Prism and Casper, certainly a team that has just had really rough time at trying to get their bearings here. But for Ghost and Lemon, holding strong, even though Ghost looking rather injured, so might be difficult for him to actually make it out. But for Vico and Malabuka, immediately capitalizing elimination onto Nova. Just a matter of time before they try and pick up Waza along the way here, but additional tags coming in from teams a little bit further out. But Vico and Malia, they are just super fixated on Waza. They want this elimination. Waza just barely managing to escape the clutches of Vico and Malabuka. But where he's headed might not be any better here, as now Blaha could potentially try and play a little bit of a spoiler on that escape route.
He will.
Sure enough, Waza did not get the opportunity to bounce back here. It's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes when you are left in that sort of position, sandwiched between other teams. And Vico Malabuka, hey, we saw the sparks of life from them in the last lobby, and now it's just all about them continuing to build up on their form.
It's good to know they're alive. I mean,
Yes.
you wouldn't have been able to tell after watching the last Grands, to be honest, but the talent is still there. And I think one thing we've always given this duo credit for is their great chemistry. Both these players, again, similar to some of the other players in the lobby today, playing from Austria, boot camping together, I believe, so Venus and Frenic. What a last game that was for them. To get the win in the fashion they did, it was always an awkward one, right? With the way the zone pulled up the hill. Looked like one of them was just going to get stuck. We saw that with so many of the other teams, but they got back together and did enough to win the game.
Not only that, but like the desk had also mentioned, it's just so much more difficult too. When you are in those off-spawn contention periods, you really got to make every single lobby count. And, well, sure, in FinCheck, they might have a bit of a tough time here. It all depends. Don't really have a whole lot of material to work with. They will be able to create some space. But for Dharm and Deemish, whether or not they're actually going to forfeit that opportunity to continue the aggression, we'll just have to wait and see, because now it's all about Chat Flixie continuing to remind everyone just who they are and what they're capable of. And Podesai and Akira aren't careful, might find themselves getting lined up in the distance or some surge damage. Already alerted. Wasn't Chat Flixie though. Another team instead taking note. Axe Force Bevies going to be the ones to try and get some additional damage in, but Vico and Malabuka have now decided that they like fighting, and they like fighting early on, and they're going to keep trying to force these engagements with other teams that just barely manage to start getting a little bit of underneath them. But those shots are just too menacing right now. Vico and Malabuka, they've got so much coverage here, and Alba trying to do what you can, but it's just not enough.
One of the things I'm interested to see if they learn from Grants is just when it is time to leave. We saw them taking fights here at the bus stop a bunch in Grands, but a lot of the times it would just take way too long, right? We had that one game, if you cast your mind backs, where it was them up against Pink and Haris, and it felt like they were there for half the game, camping and waiting for a chance to get the LM. We know these guys are always going to be scary in these types of fights, but when you're not getting the damage you want out of it, it comes a point. You have to know whether it's worth the investment to stick it out till the end.
The way that they're
Seems like they
lurking
might have
about, yeah, I really think that they contemplated it, they thought maybe, but they realized it's just nothing really to get after the fact. And it does look like Vico, having taken a little bit of damage there, means that they are going to have to maybe try and rebuild some of that surge, but they have still done a pretty solid job here to open the door, at least for creating those opportunities later on down the line. More teams, though, just continuing to sort of take their time. Izzy and Nosif, though, maybe hoping that more teams would be headed their way. Velo, on the other hand, wishes that he could get away from Gavix. Thought they were going to have the advantage, considering that Zengi's already down, but that is a big recovery point for Gavix to buy himself a little bit more time, spend inside of the storm, and actually try to see things through here. But just like that, Zynox eager to shut that one down.
Yeah, he got his leg back. And he'll have an opportunity here to get Velo back in the game. Oof. We have here Vanya, maybe an easy damage opportunity if he can get there in time, but nothing in life ever comes easy. He will take some damage himself. Who even shot him there?
It might have been one of the teams still hanging out at Cluster Coast.
Cluster? Wow.
Which,
what an angle.
bit awkward though now for Nefrizia and Vanya though, because I'm sure that that's likely even alerted Podesai and Akira that Vanya and Nefrizia are directly behind them if they weren't aware of it already. But Akira and Podesai, the way that they're boxed up, it seems like they were.
Well, honestly, I think what matters for them is just whether or not they're above or below on Surge, really, because the position is not a bad one whatsoever. But of course, if they're down on Surge, then I'd say it's not the best of spots to be in. So that's a real important factor for those two. Matisse and Doom barely above. But some opportunities for damage here, Taco. I think if you are patient here in the spot, just on top of this hill here, I think they'll be able to get a couple tags out of it. Flixie Chap, though, not looking for tags. They've gotten their damage out of this one. And now it's just about moving right back into the zone. Let's take a look at how Flixie racked up some of these limbs. Pickaxing his way through straight into the box. I've never seen a more Flixie elimination. Jumps right in with two players waiting, still comes out on top.
That confidence, though, you can tell that Chap and Flixie are really feeling themselves right now, and I can't blame him when he's able to secure shots like that. Tough break, though, for Khan and Reason. Don't know how long they were waiting around for an opportunity, but yeah, just a really tough spot to be in. Zynox and Velo, though, Ari held at bay, and this might even become one of those, if it's not me, it won't be you either circumstances here, the way that Ari is just continuing to try and apply a little bit of additional damage. But Velo, Zynox, they've got the positional advantage. They're the ones who are looking back, continuing to get those tags in, and now Hari underneath the search threshold won't get a chance. He'll be brought down. So Velo and Zynox do end up profiting, and they know that they've got a clean move in, but a lot of time spent inside of the storm there for Zynox. Storm sickness could pose a bit of a threat for that duo later on down the line. Savage and Truly, though, they get a zone pull over towards Shaken. Levin, this is the game where if you're talking about pop-offs, we're gonna need to see it out of these two because the gap is growing.
You know I'm on the Mr. Savage train. You know, I'm there. I'm supporting my boy Truly as well. Big fan. If we cut back to them in a couple zones and one of them is solo, I'm done. I'm off the train. I'm out of it. I'm gone. Everything looks set up here for them to have a great game as a duo, and so we want to see that happen. If they can't make it happen here at the halfway point, I think it'll be very telling for their signs moving forward. Of course, I know Savage is having some technical issues, but nevertheless, the lobby continues. Frantic and Dinas are perfect examples of that. They sit in a great spot, racking up damage to continue what's been a great start to the day. But Taco, there's still so many big name players in this lobby, players who were the main protagonists of the Major 2 finals. They haven't quite made their mark on this lobby yet. So we'll see if this is the game for it to happen.
Right now, Sure and Finchek, they were trying to build a little bit of damage because you could see just how desperate they were for it. But now Schiffer as a solo, 275 below. Whether or not he gets damage, it might not even matter. He's looking to be just a little bit of a materials refresh for iDrop and Gonzo instead. They won't have any complaints about how that one shook up for them, but for Noah Riley and for Strokey, other teams, each of these corners of Shank and Sanctuary, you've got duos already in some pretty crucial positions here as Nosif Izzy. Plenty of damage, just gonna continue hovering towards this front side position, but guess who's already there? Beat him to the punch, Sky and Scroll. Izzy and Nosif will be cut off temporarily, but seemingly content with where they're at, and for good reason. They are in a very solid spot currently. They can still look back, they can still take time to heal up that little bit of damage that they did lose along the way. But for Leo, they won't even get the chance to break into the edge of zone. So many teams just immediately shutting that one down as Fishy and Huddy, that off-spawn fight going so heavily in their favor. Now, currently 632 above on Surge in an excellent position. The only question that remains is, do they challenge for height or do they just stick to what's been working? And the recipe for success, it's been all about the low ground for those two.
This is the type of game that could really cement themselves as a real contender for that global spot. Venus and Franek, unfortunately, not looking as strong, not looking as comfortable. Dina's way below on Surge. In a position where with Max Paul zone, you've got to think it's just a matter of time till it's all over. Unless 4 other players can go down here, Venus just gonna look to try and out-heal. He knows that's the only option for him. Can't get this damage back.
He just doesn't have any mobility though. The one overdrive just not gonna cut it when the pool is so far away. So now the lobby, this is the time to play catch up, and truly is a solo. That primo positioning where we last left off. Just
hello.
But truly,
Hello. Can you hear me, Reapers?
his power to keep this one alive. He's got 2 eliminations already. And enough.
Right, so I'm just checking if you can hear me. Of course you can hear me. Let me just adjust this for you, Reapers. I might just go muted. Just so you know, I might go muted, so you won't be able to hear me, because, yeah. I will be watching it, but, yeah. Okay, can this stop moving? It's actually annoying me. Right. So, let me mute myself, actually, Reapers.
And Nosif starting to crumble a bit here under the pressure, but truly he's managed to find yet another elimination for himself, and that Siphon might just be enough to carry him forward. But had to use his last overdrive grenade, he's gonna have to depend on another refresh to get even more mobility, hoping that the lobby continues to thin itself out. Every single bit of placement making such a big impact for their score overall. And what could also end up helping him out is if Huddy and Fishy meet a similar fate to Dinas and Fernet, taken out of the lobby too soon. The placement points still working in Truly's favor for the most part, but he runs straight into another duo, and they're just a little bit too set up. That first shot not bringing down Sato entirely means that now Sato and Momsy will be able to keep moving forward here, and Fishy just continues to find a little bit of clear air to work with in this low ground. He's got a good set count too for the builds. It'll be very difficult for any teams to break past him just yet, but he's really just hoping to get a little bit of a surprise showing on some of these healthier looking duos. Podesai and Akira also a little bit stuck in the dirt. And the way this zone is pulled, Levin, it's just made things so difficult. Everyone running through their builds, a team on height, just causing so many issues because everyone is just so exposed And if you don't have the builds to work with, you're just going to start getting beamed here. Monzi, Sato, that little bit of spoiler, but Monzi still able to collect. Chap gonna be brought down. A great shot there out of Monzi to keep things kicking, but Fishy in a very similar position, refuses to fall over here as Gonzo and iDrop will take out Pablo on height, and now they'll be the ones to see whether or not they can actually fare. Even better still, Fishy with one more elimination. We knew that he was crazy. This Czech player has just been showcasing his fighting powers all season long. And if you're a Huddy right now, you've got to be so excited seeing the amount of placements that he's actually managed to secure here. Another knock onto Twy. Cringe, praying that nobody realizes where he's at, just on the outskirts. But Fishy, he's got to break past. He still has some builds. Picking up, slept over chugs. Moment to heal. Cringe could be that little bit of a saving grace here for Fishy. It all depends on who gets the first shot, and Fishy won't be able to break through. iDrop and Gonzo applying too much additional damage, and just like that, iDrop and Gonzo are gonna bring game 3 home. We already knew that they were set 11 in terms of the Global Championship, but they're interested in that prize pool after all.
A big game for iDrop and Gonzo, reminding us that their Major 2 form is still with them, Frankie.
Yes, fantastic to see these guys just continuing the success from Major 2, which is where they qualified for Antwerp, and they're showing that this is a duo that is going to just get stronger and stronger the longer they get to play with each other, Mini Miner, because they only formed for Major 2 and it's paying off dividends.
Yeah, really excited to see how these guys now sort of keep going on throughout today, and of course the Global Championships. I think a lot of people, myself included, were sort of surprised just at how well they did in those Major 2 finals. I didn't expect big things from them, of course. When iDrop played with Marius at the Summit, didn't go so great there. It was like, is this not necessarily the duo sort of concoction, if you like, that you'd maybe expect to have fireworks? But so far this season it has been incredible for them. And of course, now leading up to Globals, Takata, if they can continue that momentum going through, that'll be really good for them.
Yeah, it took a second for them to spark today, though, to be fair. I mean, they got 18th, 17th, and now they've finally gotten a spark, and it was a big one. I mean, they ignited completely. I think it was, how many eliminations they even get? They have total 20 now, so it's looking unreal. 179 points, jumped up that leaderboard. You can tell that the players now who have yet to qualify are going to be very happy about that one. But they basically controlled height from when Vico Malavuka lost it for the rest of the match.
Yeah, they did. And of course, remember, they started the Major 2 finals really well. I think day one was just an incredible day for them. I think they were sort of top 3 after that first day, and then things just sort of tapered off throughout the rest of the weekend. That day 2 performance was not so great for them. So on this sort of more smaller scale, can they now sort of fix a lot of those mistakes maybe they had in day 2 of grand finals to now have a strong finish here today?
There's a couple of things I love about this duo. The first thing being, when we do see them get to the end games, Gonzo is just tearing through the lobby and getting those all-important extra elimination points. The other thing is, Gonzo is this newer Danish player, and him and iDrop, they've had this friendship that's gone back a while, but they haven't been competing together previously because Always Pappy, the mental coach, decided that Gonzo wasn't ready. This is the conversation I had with him earlier in the week, and then going into Major 2, he said, okay, I'm ready to take you on as someone that I want to help because you have potential. I'm going to finally let you play with iDrop, and now we're seeing the results, and we'll be talking about where our other duos place after this break. already at the halfway point of tonight's lobby, and there are 3 more games and 3 spots in the Fortnite Global Championships in Antwerp. So let's individuals who are really putting up godlike numbers like Chap Mini Miner.
Yeah, this is great. This is nice to see. I feel like we haven't seen this level of gameplay from Chap since maybe mid-Chapter 5 when he was sort of playing with Teeny in duos. He was sort of one of the best fraggers in the region, just looking really, really strong. We just didn't get to see the best of him in trios, I feel like, maybe overshadowed a little bit in his teams that he was playing with. But yeah, this is nice to see. It's nice to see sort of him having a bit of a resurgence here as well to Carter. Nice solo clutch points, of course, as well. Good amount of damage dealt, of course, from Fishy as well there in that last game. I'm sure that would have had an impact.
Yeah, it's pretty. I just get so nostalgic whenever we talk about like the Chap and Teeny days. They were just like, just one of my favorite eras of Fortnite. Let's bring up the leaderboard though before I get all misty-eyed, because I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for the competition. This is the overall leaderboard, so this does include the duos who've already qualified, because there's 40k on the line for whoever wins the lobby tonight. And actually, Hutty and Fishy, they're not just dominating the non-qualified players leaderboard, they're also dominating the overall leaderboard, Takata.
How crazy would that be? Not only passing all the 16 duos that are already qualified to globals, but also qualifying yourself in first place. Hutty, Fishy are playing the tournament of their lives right now. This is what I was hoping for in Major 2. I was really hyping them up before it started. I was ready to see what they were capable of when they weren't going to be shadowed at Wonky Land by Shark and Teeny, and this is more what I was expecting from them. So to see them perform so well now, they've gotten top 10 every single game. First, a third, Mini, it's what you love to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned it right there, you know, them. We always talk about them as a team, but FishyX, we don't speak individually about both individual players, probably enough or as much as we probably should, because FishyX right there, what a clutch that was. I mean, you know, you don't get many Czech players, but he's probably now got to be one of the best players, or if not the best player in the region. It was always Hutty that sort of had that role, had that title, but maybe FishyX after that performance right there, just showing what he can do and showing the reason why Hutty picked him up, of course, and has played with him for so long. I think they're a real force to be reckoned with. I think we don't give them maybe enough credit as a team here in the region. We will sort of talk about them as the disruptors, the team that can win the odd game, that can do well in the sort of lower level formats, but they're a very, very solid team. And if they do make it here to the global championship, they definitely will shake things up as well.
But let's take a look at the non-qualified players leaderboard. We know Hutty and FishyX are at the top of it. They're currently joined by Dinas and Frenek and Zangier and Gabex. And it's interesting that Dinas and Frenek have managed to hold on to that top 3 placement on this leaderboard, at least to Carter, because they only came 23rd with no eliminations in that last game. Feels like they just got so unlucky with the zone pool in the mid game.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising, actually, because first, second have quite a lead. It's more like a battle for third right now between the teams who have not yet qualified. But as you mentioned, they had a very strong game, too. They won. But the other matches, a 12th to 23rd, it just shows what you really need to even put yourself in the top 3 in the leaderboard of the players who have not yet qualified. So definitely very possible still for any name that you're looking at right now.
It'd be nice to see a French qualify, given that they're neighbours with Belgium. And Mumsy and Sato are shooting up the standings right now. I mean, Sato, obviously, we saw him most recently trying to qualify for Globals with Podesai. So it's nice to see him getting off to a good start with Mumsy Mini Miner.
Yeah, it feels weird to say Momsy and Sato. It's always Momsy and Skyjump, isn't it? This is sort of the new team that's forming here for this one. It seems like they're playing incredibly well as well. They just stay consistent, doing very well on the sort of mid-ground layers, as we can see right here. And I think both of these players individually, we've spoken a lot about Sato as sort of an upcoming player, sort of new to the scene maybe in terms of this top level of Fortnite. We just haven't really seen it at that level from him as of late. So very much like, I suppose, a lot of the French players that were in this lobby and, of course, that don't find themselves at Globals. It's like we just haven't seen the best of the best yet. So maybe this could be a sort of slingshot for them for the rest of the day. And, of course, Globals if they do qual.
For Izzy and Nosif right now, they're definitely going to be thinking about how they can try and get back to the heights of game number 1. That's where we saw them on the low ground. They managed to get 6th place with 7 eliminations. Unfortunately, since then, 20th and 16th place to Carter. They are going to have to rethink things very quickly indeed.
Yeah, I mean, Mini was mentioning the pre-show. Last time we saw a very solid performance from a French team. in grand finals. It was 2024, so it's been a while, but now, you know, we've got another French duo we're talking about right here in potential qualifying range almost to the global championship. They're not there yet, but they're getting closer and closer. The issue is, as you mentioned, Frankie, their past 2 matches have not met the expectations from their first game of the day.
Yeah, sort of looking at the leaderboard as well, looking there at 7th place, the fan favorite, Mr. Savage and Truly. Again, I was just disappointed when I was watching this game. I was like, again, they find themselves in a solo clutch situation. Mr. Savage going down early on. It doesn't seem like it's one or the other. It just seems like it could be either of them that are solo clutching at any given moment. This instance was Truly, and I must say, he did incredibly well here, Takata, finding so many of these eliminations, squeezing out as many of those placement points as possible. But this has been their problem. They just haven't been able to make it far in the games as a duo, and they're relying on the solo excellence of both of these players. It just seems like the heights of this team when they are together are great. We saw them winning grand finals, but the lows are just not quite good enough right now. They need to find a little bit of a balance in their gameplay to make it consistent.
Is this just a case of truly being slightly less experienced and just needing to trust Savage more? It's hard to know without the communications available to us, but I guess maybe we should be watching this stream. So if someone wants to go and watch during the next game, I guess, Takata, maybe we can find out the answer.
Well, hopefully they'll be live. There was some difficulties, I'll say, Savage was going through with some of the matches. So we'll hope for these next matches they're 100% ready to go, locked in. But it's better than going down to Surge before the end game. At least they're making it, even if it's solo clutches that they're having to do.
And I also think when it comes to playing with someone who has a legacy but also has a big following like Savage, it's kind of like the clicks dilemma over in the US, which I don't have time to talk about because we're ready to get into game number 4.
We are past the halfway mark. Game number 4 is here. And once more, we answer the question, who will be the final group of teams to qualify to the Global Championships and represent EU? But who will win off spawn is the immediate question. And we see a trade here for Yanis Rax. But will they be able to close things out? Tex scurrying away. The SMG5 from Yanis, just forcing both players here to potentially look for the res. I mean, Rax will be picked up. I don't know if Tex is going to be able to return the favor. He will begin now. An awkward start here for both teams.
1 for 1, just never the clean exchange. A bit messier than what either side would have hoped for. Nova and Waza, though, they're going to be another duo kind of tossing their name into the hat for some of the action taking place over by Wonky Land. And with the day that Huddy and Fishy have had already, Levin, playing spoiler for those two, don't think that's exactly the game plan here for Nova and Woza. But at the same time, that might actually be the case here because Huddy has been brought down. That surprise contestation just not going their way. Start things off hot here. Also, maybe opens up a little bit of opportunity for Nefrizzi and Vanya sort of get involved here, but Yanis, Rax still find themselves in a very tough situation. Convict Kaiser's closing into Chop Shop.
These are the types of fights that just are so awkward. You think you're having off-spawn problems and then another team rocks up and adds their name to the party. And Comeback and Kaisers will be feeling it this game. And so for Yanis and Rax, it might be the best option not to entertain the fight that these two are looking for. Oh no, they're just gonna force it. You might just be forced to take the fight. Rax almost cracked. Will recover, and okay, Kaisers and Comeback won't fully jump in, but for a moment there, Taka, I thought it was about to get scrappy.
Convict Kaiser's, yeah, right there with you. Definitely alluding to wanting to be very aggressive there, but they've already gotten 4 eliminations just to kick things off here in game 4. It's a pretty solid start. The elimination feed, though, continues to showcase just who's been struggling and who's been taken out as Huddy and Fishy fully eliminated. And had that not gone down, Levin, we might have been looking at a situation where it's teams playing for essentially top 2, because Huddy and Fishy, they had started to build up a pretty solid lead away from everyone else for the consistency metrics. But Chino and Pablo certainly one of the teams that all of these duos who don't have that qualification spot just yet for the Global Championship, they're going to want to see a lot of success coming out of those qualified teams, because that just makes it one step easier, a little bit of roll down positioning, and all the more opportunity to potentially get one of those 3 spots.
No, absolutely. The more those guys rise, the potentially better it could be for someone else. It just depends, all right? Because if they go on a tear, they might just run into some of our players who have been having a bit of a better day. Cringe and Twi, a team that I'm very curious to see how they get on at the Global Championships. Of course, here today, not been as impressive as they were on day 1 of Grands. I think so much has been learned for that duo. Thomas, Focus, another team again who maybe I was probably expecting them to have a bit of a hotter start to the proceedings today. And they're up against a very hungry Ghost and Lemon, but unfortunately Ghost goes down, and so Lemon in a 1v2, what are we reckoning? You think he's got this 1v2?
If he can get one of anything in this kind of position up against the likes of Thomas and Focus, that might be a big enough accomplishment here for the mental at least. But Lemon, for what it's worth,
I mean, they're giving him the 1.
it's not even that. He's getting tagged though from a distance, and Lemon doesn't even get the chance. Hero intervening. Despite the fact that Focus and Thomas were cool to let the ISO take place, they still can't deal with the fact that another duo just swooped in, stolen that elimination away from them right on their noses. Fado, Momsy, though, they've got Howley. Might have even taken out Lucia already, given that Sato has 2 eliminations, but this is usually the turning point of a 6-game format. Game number 4, teams have already sort of been hit with a dose of reality after that halfway segment in game 3. So now it's now or never, essentially. They are just going to be sending Hail Marys every which way to try and put themselves into a fighting position for one of those 3 qualification spots. But that just makes the game so much more unpredictable, because teams are just recklessly throwing themselves into any sort of fight if they feel like it's going to net them even the slightest bit of an advantage here.
No, absolutely. I think things are going to start to get intense. So much on the line. So many players fighting for these spots. I'm actually kind of jealous of the analysts of that leaderboard they had. I ain't got that tech. You know, Fortnite track ain't got all that. So I might need one of those just to see again who is in contention as far as the global spots go. When you have a lobby filled with so many players already playing for, you know, just the money because they've made their globals qualification. A lot of the times it comes down to conditioning. It comes down to trying to stop some of these teams who you know are good that land around you from qualifying. Look, one thing I'm going to say, and maybe people won't like this, right? The EU players, we're very confident in our region, right? We know the talent within EU. A lot of these guys would rather it be a team from, you know, Asia or Middle East landing near them than another EU team. If you ask them, they're going to tell you, yeah, I'd rather not have another EU team near me, you know? And so they'll do anything to stop some of those teams from landing and qualifying for globals if it comes down to it. And so if you're one of these teams, if you're a Nosif and Izzy, you want to get the job done, you know, sooner rather than later, right? You don't want to be in a position where that could be a problem for you. Rickball, Leo need to do so much in these last couple games to be able to push themselves back into contention. Akira, though, on the back foot. This isn't good whatsoever.
Especially not with Chap and Flixie being the ones to aggress, because they've got absolutely nothing to lose, all the time in the world to work with, and Akira is going to be brought down. Podesai have to see just where exactly he's ended up, but just so split, no real way to try and back up his teammate. And not only that, but he's a sitting duck here essentially at Golden Grove. He won't really have a great opportunity to try and escape and even look for a reboot, because on his way out, we saw this other team sort of lining up in the area around him. X-Force Bevies, though, don't catch a glimpse of him just yet, so he does manage to skirt on by. He's able to get that reboot off onto Akira. Could be enough to revitalize that duo, but they are just so close, Liv. Heading into this lobby, with Huddy and Fishy having been eliminated, teams are looking at Dinas and Ferneg, Zengi, and Gabix to be the next to fall if they want the best odds of overtaking their position on that qualification metric. But when you've got duos like iDrop and Gonzo sitting it out at the teleporters, the game just gets all the more scary. You start to play a little bit of Evil Fortnite Horror Game Edition.
Yeah, after that last game as well, they'll be looking to keep the climb going. Win would not be bad for them whatsoever. Yeah, we saw them playing this way a lot throughout Grands anyway, and so we'll see how many people have been prepping and VOD reviewing for today, expecting that. You're always going to expect someone in the teleporters. That's always the risk you take. Hodesai, though, will continue his odyssey. It's just not looking good. Every time we see him, it looks like he's just going to run into someone else that will steer him off course. Should be able to get his duo back in the game, but where that leads them moving forward will be quite the precarious situation.
Also just even not worrying about the surge, knowing that there's just so many teams opting to play Storm for so long. We're not seeing a lot of movement out of duos until right around that 5th, 6th zone approach period, and with that in mind, the reboot signal could also just be the ultimate beacon to draw some attention. Cyfrozy, Fatal, certainly
subscribe.
Needing a monumental showcasing in this 4th lobby if they want to keep it a bit more realistic in terms of qualification metrics, because there are just too many other duos already so much further ahead on the leaderboard that are fighting for those qualification spots. Jkuka and Kovacs, though, won't be able to find any additional eliminations here, and Podesai on the run currently from Skrill and Strap. He's been going as far outskirts of the map as he can think, just to try and have that opportunity to bring back Akira, but almost seems like he's just delaying the inevitable at this point, Levin, because even if he does manage to make that reboot play, how far away from the zone are they going to be in comparison to everyone else making it into the edge? He's just going to have to worry constantly about getting beamed, and their loadouts are just grim. They have to farm, they've got to do everything to bring this one back.
Yeah, and Podesai's already tanked so much Storm. It's really looking quite dire for them. At this point in the game, you sort of do everything you need to do, right, as far as get a loadout, loot up, but you're really just hoping and praying. No riding for Strokey. This is about as free as it's going to get for them, potentially, here today. Okay, don't play with your food too much. You get the LM.
See. It's just a tough break that happens sometimes, though. Podesai did everything in his power to try and correct course, and the issue, though, is that there's always another team inside a Storm. With the way that this comp meta has been broken down, is now Yanis, Rax closing in. They want to try and build a little bit more points here. They're solid in terms of global championship, but at the same time, prize pool still up for grabs. And they're going to need this elimination because they've definitely been hurting in terms of their material count and everything else. That initial off-spawn fight being so much messier than what they'd hoped for has just put them in a constant cycle of trying to recover the game. And what makes it even worse still is that they're not the only ones. 240 below, though, currently. They need to find an immediate refresh and they've got to hope that the duo that they take out has some builds to go with it.
Yeah, this is so awkward. And ultimately, this is actually one of the examples we're going to see of just where you are a team playing the Storm and you have almost none of the benefits whatsoever of playing the Storm. You're almost still in congestion. Obviously, a lot of players have finally started to leave because Zone is quite a ways away, but there was like 5 other teams around them there. It's not even like you're taking an isolated fight. You still have to be wary. And then you just have this insanely long route to make with so much to do. No whites. Janice, it's gonna be free loot. Frosty will keep his rotation going. But that was one of the things I was really curious about today, Taco, as far as we saw the success across EU and NA of the teams who didn't overly rely on playing the Storm. And so I actually didn't know what to expect of this lobby, right? As far as like, I'm sure there would have been plenty of the players in this lobby watching back and thinking, okay, maybe we shouldn't be playing as much Storm as we did try and play in Grands. But then does that counteract the effect? Because now less people are playing Storm, so actually it's not as bad to play Storm. And so you have this sort of weird cycle that sort of permeates through. And I think that's why we're seeing so many different teams, I think, in this lobby just find success in these games, because it's become sort of game on a game-to-game basis based off of the zones and the pools. Dinas and Franek have had, you know, bits of success in both different scenarios today. But once more, Taco, we watch one of them as a solo moving into this endgame where they are still fighting for a global spot.
And it just becomes all the more problematic too, because yeah, so many teams just choosing to try and reshape their game plans on the fly. Again, it just really creates so many dilemmas for everyone else involved, because you just don't really know what to anticipate. You're not really sold on playing the Storm, but you're also not super sold on wanting to be some of the first into the zone either, just because there are teams already finding their elevated positions. I know some of these duos, they are hoping that if they caught glimpse of Dinas going down in the elimination feed, or excuse me, Franek, that Dinas follows shortly after, because even with them having a pretty strong start to the day, if they can't continue to replicate those early successes, things are going to eventually fizzle out, because there's always that last push, it seems like, in these types of competitions, especially when you approach that Game 5 territory.
Yeah, I'm curious to see just how he rotates this. You can see him at the bottom left there in one of the not ideal spots. A couple of teams ahead of him as he will look to make his way into the zone. Has 2 overdrive nades to use, and so the timing is going to be pivotal. Nosif and Izzy starting from a bit higher up, and so their initial nade will take them a decent journey, but making probably the right play here to just pause and take a break, not try and greed too much out of the overdrive nade. They'll invest a couple materials, and that actually looks like it's going to save them a lot of HP and get them in a really nice spot here in zone. Great rotation from Izzy and Nosif.
Definitely betting from it already, because they're immediately starting to apply some pressure towards those teams still stuck behind them. Is Momzi Sato looking to take out Shark, doing everything in his power to try and hold strong here, but Kaisers can't say the same for him. So many teams just a little bit late to the party here. And for Momzi and Sato, they are hoping to have that separating moment, because this game could be the one to help them play leapfrog on those leaderboard positions. Setting up already, but it's Hari and Cammy who could potentially be caught in a little bit of a crossfire here. They know I dropped Gonzo just across the way. Got to be a little bit cautious here, even potentially debating. They're going to drop, it looks like, before opting to go forward, but I dropping Gonzo. They might have to look elsewhere, trying to force a little bit of damage, because they are currently underneath.
And it's such a shame for iDrop. I mean, if it was 12 months ago, he'd just be able to hop over and just get in Cammy and Hari's box and get all the help he needs. This time around, here in duos, that isn't an option for him, and so he's gonna have to rely on Gonzo's abilities. Just enough to get above on Surge, but not the most comfortable positions for this duo, especially knowing that there will be so many more teams in this lobby looking to take it. Cammy and Hari sitting in a prime position to just completely snake height off of them, but there's also teams on the front side that looked primed to take it, like a Chap and Flixie. So the story and the journey and the battle for height will be one that continues here. Truly, and Mr. Savage though, will they actually have a journey as a duo is the question we've been trying to answer. And it might just be the game we get to see it from them, Taco.
They just need to stay together. If they can do that much, we've seen what they're capable of in those final moments. But when you've got so many other duos sort of encroaching on these mid-tier layers, Sato, Momsy, doing a rather excellent job too at kind of wrapping Tink a little bit of that storm damage even. They've got the medkits to work with, so it won't hinder them too heavily, and they've claimed so much space already. They won't be able to find any knocks or eliminations just yet. Momsy still trying to ensure that they have any sort of opposing line of sights cut off here, but Chat, Flixie, you can smell the weakness on the high ground, and they're going to immediately launch themselves straight to the top of this lobby. And with Flixie and Chap able to overcome, now it's all down to Savage one more time, but it won't be enough. He gets shut down on the go here. We'll have to see just how things shake up for them in game number 5, but placement points certainly not doing them too much of a favor in this one. Izzy and Nosif on the other hand though, they're going to need a refresh almost immediately, just passing back and forth. The only Chug Jug they have available. Now looking down, realizing Pstroki injured. They got the shield crack. They're trying to chase him down, but Pstroki barely managing. Wait just for a second there. Nosif, though, able to claim it after the fact. So that slight addition of materials helping him to just go one more layer up.
Everything these two turns to gold today. But they need to find a bit of space, find a bit of breathing room just to regroup and look for a refresh here. So many scuffed players that are available, and if they can't find it, it will be somebody else. Nosif left alone here, and now he becomes the solo bait. Mumsy will fall. Darman Deemish finally starting to bark in this lobby. It's been no bite whatsoever today. But there are opportunities aplenty still in this one. They'll find a bit of a refresh, and Chap and Flixie dropping down. They're desperate to get in on the party.
Yeah, but Deemish definitely a little bit more injured than what he'd been hoping for, as now Axforce and Bevies start trying to claim a little bit of this frontside territory. Looking back, Waza, Nova, not the only ones though down here underneath with them. Vico and Malabuka also looking to take a stab at things, and they've already got one piece of the pie here, taking out Axforce, and now Vico is going to be left to fend for himself. Doesn't have any builds whatsoever though, just scrambling mental over, trying to stay out of the line of sight from these players surrounding him. Does manage to pick up some leftover materials here though, but Bevies has got the final score. He'll take out Vico at the end of it all, and here, just like that, it's gonna be shut down because Darman Deemish definitely still plenty of dog left in the fight.
This is their time to make a play happen. Nova and Woza are there, but it's Chap and Flixie, the ones to apply the pressure. Deemish, 10 a limb so far today, but the one he needs to hit won't connect it. It's Chap and Flixie. After a very impressive height take, we called it earlier on. You could see they were sniffing it out, and that's exactly why they deliver the win, Taco.
They were frothing at the mouth to bring this one home, and they got the job done after all. So Frankie Takata Mini, what do you guys have to say?
I just have to say, all hail the new kings of the high ground, Chap and Flixie. I mean, no layers are safe when these guys are in the lobby, Takata.
No, not at all, but I'm almost still stuck on Deemish's 10 eliminations. Going into this match, they had 3 total throughout every match. Deemish Dharma combined had 3 eliminations, and just in that match, they got 10. Well, Deemish literally got 10, but Chat Flixie have been dominating throughout the whole day. I'm not surprised to see them win a match here as we get closer and closer to close it out. I mean, they're already qualified to globals, but they've just shown why they're deserving of it.
Yeah, I sort of forgot that Dom and Dimash were playing today because we just haven't seen too much from them. Very similar to Chap and Flixie. So kind of gone under the radar throughout most of this year. Yes, they've already qualified through, but we just haven't seen this level of gameplay from them. And it kind of is contrary to what I really expected from this lobby. I still expected our top teams that placed the best in the Major 2 finals to still be on top. I expected Sky and Scroll, Shark and Tini to be the teams that are dominating. But it's Flixie and Chap. It's finally sort of coming together for them in terms of what we expect from these guys on paper. And like the casters mentioned, I really like that height take. It was a really nicely timed one because they waited for eyedrop just to drop on down and try and claim a few of the lower layers and try and maybe get some refreshes. That's the moment they pounced. So they were really patient, really effective, and of course closed out the game with a win.
But it makes sense that these are two legacy players. They've played with some of the best IGLs in the game and now coming together with all of that knowledge and their mechanical skill. It's no wonder that they are managing to take so many lanes in the lobby tonight. We've got 2 more games heading your way, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Last chance qualifier. We've only got 2 more games to go before we find out which 3 duos will be joining the already qualified 18 duos from Europe in the lobby in Antwerp, Belgium. I'm going to breathe after that extremely long sentence. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboard because we've got some big names who are doing big things today. There is a top prize of $40,000 tonight. And right now, Chap and Flixie are looking good for it, but they have got competition by a number of jurors who also haven't qualified yet for Belgium, and they have to be the hungriest of all. It's great to see Vico though, and Big Cheeseburger Malabuka showing some form again after a disappointing showing at Major 2. But right now, let's take a look at the non-qualified players leaderboard, because really, guys, this is who we want to be talking about right now. And Mumsy and Sato, they are creeping upwards by 1 place into 3rd. They are in contention, Takata.
Yeah, they are, but I'm looking at how close it is from 2nd to 5th. It is nail-biting. Momsy Sato, though, so far are looking good. I mean, they got 10th in the last match, so it's not bad at all, especially considering they started the day very poorly, Mini, but from a 5th, 10th, they have shot themselves up quickly, that leaderboard.
Yeah, I really like the way they played a lot of this end game as well. They were sort of using their layer really effectively, and it's something that we broke down at the beginning of the day. What Sky and Scroll do really good is sort of getting to that front side of zone, building into it, and tanking a lot of that storm and using a lot of those heals to actually get that health back up. They did that really well, which of course gave them so much piece control, so much real estate to actually operate in. And if they can continue to do things like that, they just need to try and stay afloat in these end games, because it is so close there.
Again, so I'm getting a little nervous, but hey, we're just 4 games down, a couple more to go. We'll see how it goes.
Takata, no jinxes on the desk. Don't panic about that one. In 5th place on the non-qualified teams leaderboard are Axe Force and Bevies. Renamed himself to Games Left In, but right now the game is looking like it's with him, Mini Miner. However, they are 55 points behind our number 1 team in contention right now.
Yeah, it's quite nice to see that, otherwise to sell that to you. You got to believe in yourself, surely, right? But nice to see these guys actually finding some success. Of course, they're a team that we've seen performing together for so long. They're sort of team staples of the EU competitive scene. Never quite made it to the very top, I feel like, Takata, so I think they still have that sort of maybe some questions about their overall career, but I think that their experience, like I sort of talked about at the beginning of the day, will be a key element as to why they're sort of playing well today and using that so effectively in these end games as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around for an incredibly long time in EU competitive, and in terms of today, all they've been doing is going up and up and up. They started 22nd place, then 15th, 10th, 4th. If that trend continues, it's a top 3 next game, so it's what I'm waiting to see.
We're waiting to see Savage and Truly really place well within the top 10 as well. The best they've managed so far is 10th place. Otherwise, they've been in the top 20. And again, we've got this issue that they're not managing to go the distance as a duo. They're relying on each other's individual skills to clutch things out to Carter, and it's just not enough to get them to Belgium.
Yeah, what we said they needed to do is get a big game. They were making it to these end games, but they were solo clutching. They were not really getting as many points as they needed to qualify, but just kind of be in that range. And the issue is that's the exact same thing that's happened in this last match. They need to have a big game now, and they have 2 more chances to do it.
And so do Dinas and Frenek, because the thing about these guys is, yes, they got victory royale in the second game, but the last 2 games, 23rd and 20th, the consistency, Mini Miner, is currently not there, and they are at risk for some hungry duos.
I mean, thank goodness they got the win, right? Where would they be placed if they didn't get that win? It's important to have these big pop-off games, but it's also important just to stay consistent in the other ones as well. You're not going to be able to win 6 games out of 6, but for these guys right now, it's just about trying to turn those 20th into sort of top 15s even will make a big difference as well. So they've really let things slip now in the last couple of games. It's maybe a few of those mid-game situations that they find themselves in. We spoke about it earlier, that sort of Osborne contest station, difficult to navigate some of those areas as well. So I think for them, it's just about trying to make it to those end games more consistently, maybe looking at a different loop path and trying to adapt to the teams that are around them, because so far they're on a downwards trend.
Yeah, they haven't been getting eliminations either in these recent matches. I mean, when they won the game, they did incredibly, but in the games where they kind of scraped their way through the end game, they're just not consistently getting these refreshes as you're alluding to. So hopefully they can make some switch ups coming into these last couple matches.
Is it important now, Mini Miner, for these teams to have a real balance when it comes to risk-taking in the end games? Because actually, yeah, you can get inside the top 10, but if you haven't got any eliminations, you might potentially not make it by a couple of points.
Depends where you are, I feel like. If you are one of the teams that are sort of lower down, you're not qualified at Globals, why not try and take a lot more risk? But I think it becomes really awkward if you're in that sort of 5th, 4th place in that teams that are not qualified leaderboard, because really, what do? Do you go for one really big game and then it doesn't matter about the other one, or do you try and guarantee and try and sort of rest on your laurels a little bit, the fact that you will get that last game if you're a team maybe that's contested, and try and play things out a little bit more carefully and calmly? So we'll see what happens now. But Frankie, I want to take your job. Let's go to game 5.
And just like that, Mini Miner, the new host of EU FNCS. What a time. What a journey here, Lev. He saw you step up to the plate one time. He decided, you know what, I think I can do better than that. But Huddy, Fishy, problems already here at Wonkyland. But it's Waza who's going to actually need the help from his duo here. Huddy and Fishy have just managed to scrape by, finding that first elimination, but Fishy, if he's not careful, he might just be next, and don't want to find themselves lined up into that even 1-for-1 exchange. Needs to ensure that they get the better end of this stick, because they want to maintain that spot that they've already locked down. Not only that, but they were at one point in contention for some serious prize pooling. Nova now having a affair with the tag team here, and it's just too much pressure. Fishy and Huddy will manage to come out successfully from Wonkyland off spawn.
Not as clean as the one we watched earlier against Cringe and Volko, but they got the job done. No problem for them here when it comes to wonky off-spawn fights. Axe Force and Bevies. You know, I remember this saying, leave the Fortnite before the Fortnite leaves you. The game's left.
Pick what you want live stream. Next I'll do it after this last room.
Rax and Yanis, more off-spawn fighting here at the Chop Shop. And this time it's not as scrappy as what we saw in the last game. Both teams gonna get the chance to loot up and try and get their best foot forward. Yanis the only one right now that actually has any shields to work with, so clearly not a lot to work with for both sides. Reason, Khan, this has not been the day we wanted to see from them, Taco.
No, and if anything, them moving a little bit further south to contend with Darm and Deemish, it's a bit of a dicey choice here, but if they manage to bring down Darm, they'll have full control of Sunken Shores at the very least. So Darm doing what he can, try and fend them off. Does have a pretty substantial HP advantage here though, and Reason doesn't exactly have builds to work with. Khan just trying to farm out even a single build to place. So at least for the time being, Darm still being a bit cautious with the approach. Doesn't want to allow for any sort of freebies here. Reason, Khan definitely recognizing the fact that the longer this takes, the more likely it is that Darm might just manage to wiggle his way out of this one. And they don't want to let this opportunity slip them by, because as the points already indicate, yeah, they have just not had the day that they needed, and they're going to have to go absolutely ballistic back-to-back lobbies if they want any chance of working their way into the placement metrics. But it's more so the fact, Lev, that Khan and Reason just throwing whatever they can at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah, this is actually a really weird spot that we've not been in really on the broadcast here in EU this year. I feel like almost everything we've watched this year, the threshold for qualifying has just been so big, right? Like when we were watching Summit and it was like, yeah, just get like a top 15 or 20 or something like that and you're like qualified, right? Even this Globals, there was so many spots up for grabs because we had so many of those other teams and other players, you know, locked in here. And of course, we still have so many players in this lobby who are already called for Globals, but it's going to be hard. You're going to need those massive gains from Reason and Khan if there is any hope. And unfortunately, the hope here for the Rax and Janice fans watching is gone, at least here in game number 5. They go down. Let's take a look at how they actually won this Osborne this time around.
Heads up way there from Eli. Great back to back with the shot placements. As now Darm will find himself being pursued by Izzy and Nosif. Problems just keep building right now. And for Darm, maybe a little bit too familiar, getting chased to this extent as Nosif and Izzy just refuse to let this opportunity slip them by. Khan and Reason might not have been able to capitalize on it, but they will waste no time. And that's a very important elimination for Nosif and Izzy to collect there, because we have seen them have some issues with Surge later on down the line, so that could potentially alleviate some of those woes. Right now though, Pix and Farron able to take down Ju. So eliminations are starting to build up, and more importantly still, Lev, I think we're starting to see the lobby get much more off, just unabashedly aggressive right now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You know, we've already seen it with some of the teams in contention for a global spot going down. Axforce and Bevies, of course, one of those already. But Izzy and Nosif, that's going to be a huge elim for them, right? They were one spot away. Say one spot away, obviously just sitting behind Mumsy and Sato going into this game. And so Mumsy and Sato need to make sure they don't slip up here at the final hurdle. Need a good end to the day. Sky, Scroll, you know what? They're the champs, so I can't even say that. You know, under normal circumstances, I might want to talk my trash a little bit here, you know, give them a push of encouragement as a big fan of these two that I am, but they're the champs, so, you know, you just gotta let it slide a bit. We'll forget today.
Yeah, they got it, I think, is the real takeaway. So, Chet Flixie probably content, though, knowing that they didn't actually have to go all out in that exchange.
I think the biggest thing is I still think they're the best duo in the world, regardless of how today ends. So that's all that really matters. Oof.
Fair play, fair shouts. Kaiser's comeback. Very short-lived victory right now, it seems like, for Eli and Tex. Even after taking care of Rax and Giannis, still have to deal with these two.
The silver lining, though, is that Kaiser's, he had a shot lined up, but he didn't really get much damage out of it. And so, for Tex and Itachi, I mean, obviously not an ideal situation being lurked on, but definitely could have been far worse than what it actually was.
Seems like a little bit of a stare down now, though, currently. Probably because of the reason that you just highlighted. These two just recognizing the fact that they were able to secure some great damage earlier on, so they don't really have to show their full hand just yet, and that's going to be enough discouragement. Comic and Kaisers, they'll head off into the distance. They might want to revisit that conversation a little bit later on, but certainly not willing to all in invest from the jump start here. Zengi, Gabix, a duo that was in contention earlier on in today's competition, and then have just been steadily getting knocked one place further down, one place further down, other teams catching up, essentially. And it just goes to show how cutthroat it can really be in terms of these consistency metrics and making it into every single one of these end games, because all it takes is one or two lobbies to go south, and all of a sudden, those duos that were 5-10 places behind you have suddenly caught up.
Yeah, it comes at you so quickly. And we've definitely seen that. I did screenshot the non-qualified teams leaderboard this time around, and they come into this game 7th on that leaderboard, a big drop from them as well. So need to turn things around. Chap and Flixie, they've had quite the day. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes you need to remind people, hey, we aren't just lobby fillers here, right? Like, we actually can be a threat. We can be competitive with the best of them. And they've shown us quite a bit. I think I had almost stopped considering them as far as some of the better height teams in EU. But they've been impressive up there today, Taco.
Without a doubt. Now just be interested to see whether or not they can continue that streak in Game 5. But ultimately, so many of these other teams that are just praying that they can catch a bit of a break here. Splaha will manage to pull off the reboot, but that's not to say that Snonsky is going to be left in any sort of better standing. So many other teams nearby, potentially able to take shots. He's already had a little bit of his HP battered away, but he does manage to touch ground. So the vendings can definitely help alleviate some of that pressure. At the same time, though, they are still going to need to build up their surge.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's not the greatest spot for them to be in, but this game is already better than all their other games combined. Right? I think they've gotten 16 points out of this one with those 4 limbs. And that's more than what they had at the start of this game. So, on the right path, potentially. Nosif, Izzy, much further ahead on that correct path as far as today goes. As we pan around, truly, Mr. Savage, so close, but yet so far it feels. They just need that one banger game. But it's been so hard. It feels like even in situations like last game, or the game before, sorry, last game, game number 3, where everything looks set up so perfectly for them to have a good game, and they just couldn't deliver.
I fear that those problems may only continue to build for them also. Teeny and Shark, though. Not what you'd expect, but at the same time, Shark closing out an elimination. We're right back on course. Still losing Teeny along the way now exposes Shark to any other duos that might be lingering nearby. Vanya and Frizzy, though, don't exactly seem too eager to get involved just yet with what's going down. So Shark likely going to look for his reboot ban opportunity shortly. But a decent amount, and something else to kind of keep in the back of your mind, Sharktini, how many times have we seen them in these types of formats, for example, where they just start to be the team that goes all out reckless with just finding every elimination back to back to back? It's almost like I'm kind of shocked that they haven't done that just yet.
Well, it might pick up now, right? Especially because they're like 4th place on the overall leaderboard. They're within the reach of a win, right? And so, like, it would play into their favor to just go all out. 1, to try win, get 1st place, max prize. But 2, because of the implications on the other teams looking for Global's qualification spots. Unfortunately, if it's going to happen, it's going to have to be in game number 6, because Shark just went down there to iDrop and Gonzo. But no, I agree with you, Taco. I would have expected them to start going crazy by now.
Almost curious to see if maybe another duo in the lobby decides to sort of pick up the torch from them, and maybe all eyes on Chap and Flixie for that type of strategizing or gameplay, because we have seen them get a bit aggressive in some of these earlier lobbies. Kira and Podestai, though, just trying to watch their next step, watch their next rotate, fully aware of the fact that they are just trailing behind a couple of other teams, and as they make their approach towards this next edge of zone, always have to keep it as a thought in the front of your mind, really, that you don't want to find yourself overly exposed. So I like that they're sort of pivoting, of course, kind of wrapping towards this lower terrain. It's keeping them out some solid lines of sight here, but they might run smack dab into where Twek and Kira are at. Got good damage currently though, so they don't really need to force the fight, but Akira gonna get caught just like that. Hallie and Lucia playing catch up as Thomas and Focus will bring down Lemon. A tough break, but welcome to the set lobbies. Thomas definitely giving him a warm EU embrace.
I mean, yeah, playing in your first like set lobby and you have to sit and play in front of all the thousands of people watching, and you gotta fight like Thomas HD, like one of the most legendary fraggers in the history of the game. It's just like, it's kind of not the most ideal situation. But props to Lemon, they've been handling it well. They've got some points on the board, so I saw, you know, you gotta give them credit for that. But they do need more if they want to be securing a spot on that bus to globals. Hold aside, unfortunately, we saw Akira getting picked off as they rotated in here, and so it's going to be up to the French legend to pick up the pieces on his lonesome.
And it doesn't help that he's got Cringe and Volko just sort of breathing down his neck right now. He's trying to, you know, put a little bit of a front on here, show that he's healthy, show that he's strong enough to fend them off, but Cringe and Volko, they might not care. They might just want those 4 elimination points even more, but for a team like Zangi and Gabix, again, they got a little bit of a taste of sitting inside that qualification metric. They don't want to lose sight of things just yet. They are still within reach of taking back what they'd lost, getting pushed down in that leaderboard positioning. Very wary though, cautiously trying to take a solid angle here, because 20 below and that gap could get even further if they aren't able to deal damage, and just also taking too much in return as Truly Savage really preventing Hardy and Cammy from making any sort of head ground.
Yeah, they are the blockers right now. It'll be interesting to see where the zone pulls, because if it does pull to them, Cammy and Harry will try to play high. It's what they've done in a lot of the games today, but I feel like we just never get to really see them play it.
Starts to be the point though for a duo like Savage and Truly, where I think it can be difficult to completely brush off those instances of the past where they've come close enough, they seem like they, you know, had it together, and then it just falls short. So this game 5, better late than never, would certainly be a perfect time for them to really strike up some big points here. Fishy and Huddy though, they just want to make up for some lost time. They're being eliminated early. So many other teams having the chance to catch up. Chap and Flixie even able to overthrow them from that first place position overall, because yes, they're fighting for that Global's qualification spot, but with the day that they've had, Lev, it's also pretty realistic to imagine that they might just bring this one home.
Yeah, that is how you can do things in style. I mean, it'd be the ideal end to your Friday evening. Gabix will just fall, and Zangi not in a position to really do much to help, and that actually sends them below on Surge. How things can turn around in these games, so brutal, so difficult.
10 players, 9 still needing to be eliminated, and not only that, but 260 below as a solo, staring down what seems like the impossible right now. Savage and Truly on the other hand though, 581 above, front side position. They got a long ways to go though for this next zone, and it was Huddy and Fishy just ahead of them. Truly trying to get some good pressure in. If they can administer some damage, that might just be enough for Savage and Truly to then begin their next rotation, but they're gonna be held here for a moment. We've got the other side of the coin here too from Huddy and Fishy, and their perspective a little bit more dire. 29 below even. Truly and Savage just consistently chipping away at their HPs, put them in a really awkward spot here, because now Fishy, Huddy, they're gonna have to spend time healing.
Back Reapers, I am so hot.
That passes them by. It's just teams that are able to
Alright, it's on air.
damage Fishy now, bit desperate, trying to chase
Alright, let's just get this off my. Oh no, I don't.
Unfortunately, unable to get away, and that siphon has done dividends right now for Fishy. But at
Okay,
the same
so
time, Huddy
it shouldn't move. If it does, then don't know.
lobby focus is now
No, let's just watch the whole entire thing.
out of the thick of it in terms of surge threshold. He's still only 30 HP in a dream.
Let's go!
Hardly any materials to work with. Fishy off of that last elimination, though. The second materials
Fishy.
doing him some pretty big
Oh
favors
my
here.
god.
Fishy's not done though. He's gonna look for more. He might just find more. We'll make the rotation now with the overdrive.
Reapers, I've had a really long day.
Space, the material's running low.
Show me.
Just enough to build a box or two. We'll look to find something again.
I've had a really long day.
Around.
Actually, I had a walk in the forest. Oh, flip.
Be the game. We've been waiting for it all day long. And Hype might just
Let's go!
find the right angles onto them. Focus on opening this possibility now. Fishy's solo clutch will continue. Mumsy and Sato finding space in this game as well, but need to hold on to it.
Oh, wait.
Just taking a little bit too much
It just came to mind. When pros have really good aim, that isn't them actually, that, it shows a normal crosshair. Seriously, I have thought of this. They use custom crosshairs, so it ain't gotta be exactly unlike the normal crosshair. That's why it has, but it has like a bit of. I'm so stupid for just thinking that.
Found the perfect opportunity to get a little bit of an extension here in this game, but now Savage truly trying to make their way forward, running out of materials at a rather rapid rate, truly looking up, contemplating going for the top instead, diverts attention downwards, needs this Ulam onto Fastroki if they can find it. The little bit of materials could go such a long way for Truly as he'll be forced to play this one out as a solo now. No Savage in sight.
It's not clean, but he finds just enough to stay alive as so many players fall truly. With the chug jug in hand, we'll get some extra placement out of this position. And a top 7 is not too shabby. Nosif and Izzy, the benefactors of this zone, pulling up this hill. Everybody stuck beneath. Nathan will make it up.
I am so hot.
Behind, but the keys to this win have to be.
Wow. 6 people left. 5 people left. Let's go. I'll play height. But they actually are playing height, but they descended down. I just kept. I'm actually taking notice of Hamburger is dead. He might be on the floor, I don't know. No, he's dead. He's gonna be chopped down him.
Doing a big favor right now for Izzy and Nosif.
This is ideal as it goes back with them being so low on builds. But you've got to give them props. They've done such a good job of applying pressure to where nobody left has been able to look up. Comeback is forced down and he's going to be forced into the face of Josh. If not, both
Being killed.
are going to just go down at the
3.
hands of Nosif and Izzy. Everything playing out so perfectly, and so now as
Solo clutch. And there is no solo clutch.
What a well-played game for Nosif and Izzy.
Great way to utilize height to the fullest extent. They did not allow anyone to even consider trying to get that top opportunity in.
I need that girl's headset. That is the best mic quality ever.
I would love to know too. I can't wait to see that after the break. But let's talk about Izzy and Nosif, because this is a team that we said needed to rethink things. Then we saw them get a 7th after that half-time point, and now they got the victory royale. They're already in a really good position, 4th on the non-qualified players leaderboard going into game 5 Takata, but now with the victory royale, they're going to be feeling very confident going into game 6.
No, yeah, this is exactly what they were looking for. They don't want to play the borderline of top 3, barely on range of qualifying or not. They want to be securely tight and snug in range to qualify, and that match has solidified exactly that. Their points have jumped up from 162 to 250. They got over 100 points that game, or almost 100 points that game, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I am also curious, just as Taco is, how that's going to kind of affect the whole top 3 standings and how difficult it is going to jump into it now, Mini.
Well, the important thing for them was that Monty and Sato didn't have an amazing game. They were all right, but it wasn't the game that they would like to remember. So they really took advantage of that situation. And that just makes it so much more difficult now for teams that are just outside of that top 3 range. Sort of thinking about Mr. Savage and Truly, who went down a little bit earlier on in that end game as well. It just makes it so much more difficult. And even with that Fishy X solo clutch as well, that could put them out of reach as well. So all these teams could now be fighting for just one singular spot, that 3rd place on the non-qualified teams leaderboard. So that's really changed up how the direction of this final game is going to go, because Izzy and Nosif just performed incredibly well right there, and it's something that we have seen from them previously in the last chance, so hopefully they can continue to do that if they do qualify.
I feel like Mini Man is the only normal person there.
Height is definitely their comfort zone, and it's also now their
Except from this whole entire 3 people.
One more game to go before we find out our winner of tonight's lobby, but most importantly, which 3 duos are going to be going to Antwerp, so don't go anywhere.
3 minutes. Let me just connect my out. Oh, that actually pretty hurt. Alright, I will move my PlayStation back a bit. But I'm gonna have to connect my mouse. Give me a minute, Reapers. I can't play on a controller. Well, I can, but I'm not going to. So half of it was probably like half of it. It was probably like called keyboard. Alright, no one actually is in here. Don't know why not. Actually, I'm just gonna put in spectator mode. Give me a minute. Alright. Okay, let's just get in this spot. Radio, I don't know what that says. I do not care. Alright, let's just get in the spot here. Reversing, reversing. Somehow, this doesn't even reverse. That's perfect. Right, Reapers, I'm just gonna mute for a couple minutes. Almost 2-hour live stream, actually. Pretty good. So I'm just gonna mute for a couple minutes. Because I'm going to get food. Actually, maybe if I turn, I'll do a free thingy. Give me a minute. I don't know if my mic quality will get any better or if it'll get worse, but I don't know. So I'm just gonna poke this. Is it in? Son. I don't know if this is charged. Is it? Let's see. Damn it, I don't think it is charged. Oh no! Let's go back over here. That's a GG mic bag. I don't actually see that.
I cannot believe.
Oh wait, wow, that was fast.
Find out who our final 3 duos going to Antwerp are going to be. Just one more game until we can declare those final 3.
Oh well, whatever. I'm not gonna upgrade the mic quality then.
Mini Miner, I think I'm gonna ask this to you.
Upgrade it.
Oh, you ready
Later.
to see the overall leaderboard?
I need Fansync to upgrade it.
Just show it to us. Just bring it up. Just bring it up. It's
Bring it
time.
up.
We gotta
Let's
see
bring
it.
it up. Let's
We gotta
have a
see it.
look. So this is all of the duos in the lobby.
Right.
Interestingly, though, we've got some big names who aren't even inside the top 10. Sky and Scroll, for example, but I think we can forgive them. I mean, they're probably still getting their energy back after dominating the Major 2 finals. But interestingly, Izzy and Nosif, after that victory royale mini-minor, they're now 3rd overall. So not only are they potentially booking a spot in the Global Championship, they also could be taking a tidy...
Right, anyways, like I said, I'm just gonna mute myself. Because I'm just gonna go get something to
game either in that last game. It was the first time they've really taken a stumble. They really could have run away with it. We could be speaking about the champions here of the Global Championship last chance for qualified finals here in Chap and Flixie, because they didn't have, because they needed to have a good game there, but they didn't. And I think that just sort of opens the door now. You can see the sort of top 4, I suppose, are really just so close. Any of those 4 really could take home the entire day today, which is very exciting as well as just the qualified teams.
Well, let's take a look at the overall leaderboard. Sorry, not the overall leaderboard, the non-qualified players leaderboard. This is obviously what we want to be focusing on right now, especially with only one more game to go. Let's take a look at the points column as well. I mean, you can see within the top 3 itself, Takata, it's incredibly close. And then we have Savage and Trilly in 4th. But Mumsy and Sato, that last game, we managed to see them get a 9th place. It's not a huge points gap for them, so they really need to do the same, if not better, going into game 6, Takata.
Yeah, I'm a little scared for them. I mean, they're looking good right now, okay? They're in 3rd place compared to Major 2, where, I mean, Sato got 47th with Podesai. Now Sato and Momsy are looking very good. Issue is, I don't know if you saw the 4th place mini. 4th place was Mr. Savage and Truly directly below them. But you know what's directly west of them? It's where Savage drops on the map. So they are quite close to each other. And I think Momsy and Sato are going to be the deciding factor on how the qualification looks for all those duos that are under them, and especially the one directly under them, which is Savage and Truly. So Momsy, Sato, lock in for this last match. Get the job done. You've done incredibly well throughout the day, especially the last 3 matches. Or last 2 matches.
All right, I'm back.
So
got a drink. I actually got 2 drinks. Let me tell you a story. So, I went swimming to a water park. It's an actual lake, and it has these, like, things that float. So you can. When we were leaving, someone was literally told to get water. They got sparkling water. And if you didn't know, sparkling water is literally carbon thingy. So before people put stuff in Coke to make it Coke, it is literally sparkling water.
Why does he always make it so close in every single tournament he plays in? It's always coming down to the last game.
Now I put like some like lemon stuff in it, so
for these guys now, yeah, they might have
tastes really nice.
Momsy and Sato earlier on in the game, try and take them out of the lobby.
This is Savage. Except
but my mind sort of thinks back to the Major 2 finals, when in that last game they tried to make a play. They tried to make a play to qualify on through. They landed on Marius and Predoxy. Didn't work out for them. They went down off spawn. So I'm sure that will be in the back of their minds as well. It's like when we tried to go against the grain, we tried to make a play last time. It didn't work. Do we just try and play ourselves and play out the game as we would normally do? Because that's maybe the strategy. I honestly don't know
when
have cooking up, but they do
the stats.
Decently sized points deficit.
Oh wait, let me just like do a live stream. Let me just like record a video. Okay, Reapers. So as you can see the leaderboard, I'm gonna record the last game just to see who wins. I didn't record the full thing because I'm doing it on the live stream. If you want to go watch the live stream after this, go watch it. But I didn't do I did on game 2 the last thing because the last people, because well I didn't even know that see us on, so yeah. But if you want to go watch that, go watch it. Alright, so we're just gonna watch the last game and I'll post this.
Endgame, Fishy was clutching placement after placement after placement, and it is exactly what they needed, especially coming from that devastating place in the last match. They got 13th from 23rd to 13th mini. It's exactly what they needed.
It's all about that off spawn. It's all about that off spawn.
I
think realistically they should be qualified on through, but let's sort of theory craft here. Maybe they do go down off spawn. Momsy, Sato, Mr. Savage, and Truly both have really good games. They could leapfrog, and we could see Hutty and Fishy, after all that hard work that Fishy's been putting in today, fall outside of the top 3. So it's not done and dusted for them. But yeah, like you mentioned, Frankie, what a performance from Fishy today. Definitely proud of that one.
Yeah, incredible performance, and I cannot see them going down without a fight in this one. And as we've seen, especially from their off-spawn situations in the past, this is a duo that knows how to fight. It feels to me, Mini Miner, like there was a little bit of coke going on in your calculations for all the Savage fans out there.
Yeah, I want to see Savage Squad. I think we all want to see Savage Squad. Like I mentioned, he always leaves it to the last game. It's always too close for comfort with Mr. Savage, and I want to see him do it for all the Savage fans out there and for us on land as well. It wouldn't be the same without him there.
But this is the thing, Takato. It means so much to all of these Joes. It means so much to players like Savage, who's only ever missed out on the 2024 Fortnite Global Championships before.
Oh.
And it means so much to players like Hutty and Fishy, who haven't had these opportunities. And for me, I feel like that's one of the biggest motivations of all. And right now, we are ready to see who's going to be making it to Belgium, because it's time for Game 6.
Look, all this focus on Savage and Truly, but I'm thinking about who's also right behind them, Lev. It's also Venus, Frenek, finding themselves just outside
Tomaseci.
contention point.
Volkacici.
They're a little bit further behind where Savage and Truly are at, sitting at 167
Tomaseci.
Realistically, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and so Momsy, Sato, they really got to keep their wits about them, because I would not
Give me that. I've got skin on my. Okay.
to try and pressure them early on, because right now that's the most realistic catch-up point
Yeah.
for any of those duos just outside of that third spot qualification point.
And of course, these two teams land
So why I use keeps a stable 120 FPS. This monitor. We go buy it. It's actually like £15, but it was a really deal. I got it on a really good deal. I think it's like £62. How much it is? I got it for £50. No, £15.
Will just ease the pressure on them as they move through this early game. But it's all about finding Mumsy and Sato and outplacing them, outscoring them. This last game is going to get crazy, Taco.
It's going to get very messy too, because it's the end of the line. For Global Championship, you either make it in for those top 3 spots off consistency, or you are just going to have to wait for solo FNCS season to be upon us, because these teams are doing all their last-ditch efforts right now. X-Force and Bevies. You have to remember, elimination still being worth 4 points apiece is a lot, Lev. You would think that it might be enough, even if a team just decides to key outright, that they could make up for the placement with those elims instead. And Bevy's barely managing to bring down Photoside, but with X-Force just hardly left standing on his last legs, only 10 HP to work with. He's got to be so precise. The Maven, not exactly the type of shotty that you want to be staring down Akira with. X-Force just trying to get any little bit of space, but it's just not enough. Kira definitely having the advantage.
And I know we made the games left him joke last game, but Axel's and Berry's 2 top players who we will now not get the chance to see at the Global Championships. That is just how ruthless this region is. And Frizzy and Vanya won't be making the return to Globals in front of those beautiful M8 fans. Might just have to sit in the crowd and join in with the chants. Fishy and Hutty not taking any chances here in this final game. Any sort of off-spawn truce completely shut down the drain. They went on full offensive here in this.
I would like to see Shark and get a tournament.
Bit dastardly from Hutty and Fishy, but that early elimination set, that's adding salt to the wound after all here for Hutty and Fishy. Excited though to see just how far they can take it, because keep in mind, the elimination points, if they're able to keep racking them up, they might actually be able to catch up to where Chap and Flixie are at. All depends on how some of these other
This guy.
Today's competition is
Savage.
Truly, Sky and Scroll. This could be a dangerous fight And it's not an engagement that Savage and Truly are interested in continuing. They'll have to forfeit it, but at the same time, just how much did it cost them at the end of it all? How much were they really able to secure in terms of builds and loot? And now they're going to have to look primarily just for that refarm opportunity.
Yeah, ultimately, their chances of finding Mumsy and Sato are just too slim. And so it becomes about just having a big game. They have to focus on playing their game, not getting caught up in the mind games. Hope those guys go down and they can do just enough.
God,
Sky and Scroll.
God, 2 hours.
Our FNCS champs have not been in championship form today.
I must have been in a lot, Rippers. This live stream's been 2 hours. I'm gonna do another one after this. I'm
Still
cooked.
expect these guys to come back with a bang.
Next
Weekend at the Reload Elite Series Championship Final or at the Global Championship.
By the way, Reapers, I won't be posting any videos tomorrow because I'm going somewhere. It's called Flamingo Land. Long way to travel. I might post a couple of videos. I might post like one video while somewhere or something. Probably not.
Start things off here in game 6.
Oh God. I'm so tired. Oh, actually, let me check Franklin chat.
Savage and Truly, the priority should just be focusing on their strengths, not looking to try and shut down anyone else.
Anyways.
They need to prioritize positioning, maintaining their surge, and staying together in those endgame circumstances. 7th in the last one, it shows that they are capable. It's just eluded them far too often in today's competition, but they might still have just enough left in the tank, and that last game could have been the catalyst potentially.
They're gonna need to. I mean, we could sit here and just look at this lobby.
Oh my God.
The Titans.
Sky.
The people
Wow.
written the story of
Took shot. Oh, he's dead. Cracked him. He's one shot him.
In Antwerp for globals, I mean, it is rough to say the least.
Didn't know how Sky didn't get that kill.
And I think Mr. Savage is certainly one of those
Yeah.
names I don't want to see added to that list.
Yeah, just.
But ultimately, it just comes down to this game here. I mean, it's a tough reality, but they haven't blessed us with many big, solid games. So they're going to have to pull this one out from somewhere deep within. Sky and Scroll will continue this little scrap they got going on against Twy. They're going to fully commit to this one, or will this decent trade for Twy? That's going to force Skrill to just take a quick little step back. And Sky will get the job done. Twy had nothing really to work with as far as shields. His mats were low and he only had the one overdrive. He was never getting out of there.
Lucky for Cringe though, Sky and Scroll do decide to leave after the fact. The one was good enough for them. Con and Reason though. This is where it gets really dangerous for Izzy and Nosif because
I actually might not do that last stream actually.
251 points or so, that should be enough realistically to keep them within that top 3 placement threshold.
Nah.
But at the same time, you never really know, and why risk it?
Actually, yeah. I might record like a video on Roblox.
In this kind of position,
yeah, I'm gonna play one Call of Duty game.
They got completely caught off guard and
one Call of Duty game. I'll post that tomorrow.
By Con and Reason, they've been lying in wait, but problem now is who's gonna catch up to them?
I mean, the problem is in the feed, I saw Fishy X go down. So, yeah, getting a lot closer than I maybe anticipated. Was not expecting both of those guys to be in such tough spots. I believe Flixie was the one that took Fishy X down.
Yeah, man.
And Nosif will be taken out completely. Wow.
Yeah, shots. Shockwave.
231 points. They go into this game
God
with
fighter.
that
Yeah.
spot secured. But at this point now, you can never say never. Hutty and Fishy
Never seen.
potentially not having
I
the
said
best
never
game
say never.
tomorrow, so for Mumsy Sato,
God.
this is truly, who knows just what could be captured here in this final game.
And it
Wow,
doesn't
crazy
matter
game.
that you've got Shark and Teeny, who are definitely trying to bring it back in terms of they've got absolutely nothing to lose. They are just roaming the map looking for whatever eliminations they can accrue, and that is the worst case scenario for a team like Izzy and Nosif, because not only does it mean potentially easier placement for some of those other contenders like Savage and Truly, like Dinas and Frenek, but it is just such a sinking feeling when you are a spectator to your fate.
Honestly, it's one of the worst. You just have to listen to us two waffle about just how it's slipping through their fingers.
God.
Cringe and Volko
Very Demon Storm actually then.
spot here in the zone. Playing the waiting game, unfortunately, Zangi is gonna catch Volko out, and so Cringe.
Oh, I have a headset net, man.
Cammy and Hari inching their way on in.
No.
This might
You have
just
a
cost
really
us
bad
what
headset then.
needed for him to stay alive. With Gabix being caught out and opting to dip, but they might know he's here. Yeah,
Yeah, myself bending.
not quite right. But they're not gonna pursue it. Thankfully for Cringe, he's able to stay up in this one.
Wow. Cammy and Hari choosing to just collapse onto Zangi instead, and poor Gavix, while he did manage to kind of pass on by, losing your duo at the same time is just such a tough position to be in. And not only that, but keep in mind, Huddy was
Mythic Ranger Pistol.
over towards Wonky Line.
Damn, I never saw that in my life.
Off elsewhere, doesn't want to stick around, especially when he can tell that they're
I only saw Legendary, not Mythic.
picking up the pace here now, though. But Cammy and Hari, that's a very tough break for a duo like Zangi and Gabix.
Wait, isn't that Ensemble? Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
And review, it's actually Huddy and Fishy one more time, so a little bit of recovery, but will it be short-lived, given the direction that Hari and Cammy are actually starting to
Quick stats.
step up the pace to potentially even cut them off?
Hutty and Fishy. Such
And Reapers, I'm probably gonna like zoom in on my YouTube video, but on
know just how much
what's it called, on my live stream, I haven't got it zoomed in,
been on Olmo.
but on the YouTube video I probably will.
What's happened here? Fishy's down.
Fishy.
Hutty's on 25 HP.
Oh no.
Hutty and Fishy. There is no cause for celebration, no cause for fireworks right now. This is completely flipped over its head. What happened?
Look at that. I didn't know he was down there.
It gets away from Hari and Cammy, and while
Wow.
I initially believed that that was going to be, something that works,
Wow.
running into Huddy,
Didn't think it would happen.
he's able to
Miss
catch
Savage.
him completely off
Truly.
guard, just swoops in, disaster strikes yet again, and now that might even be the green light for Cammy and Hari to potentially just pick up and continue the pursuit here, because why not? They've got so much time now
It's like, why not?
to just keep trying to play spoiler here. But for a duo like Savage and Truly, we said that we wanted to see them looking to just take affairs into their own hands, and it looks like they're doing just that.
Yeah, and I think the good news for Hutty and Fishy fans is they were on 255 points, which means they overtook Nosif and Izzy and should be safe. The only other team close enough to reasonably catch up will be Mumsy and Sato, who of course themselves are in a qualification spot. So I think we're gonna say job finish. Job finish for Hutty and Fishy. Not in the way you wanted to see. Of course, they were pushing for
Fly
more
drop
than
right
just
down.
the global spot at this point of how well they've been playing on the day. But we said it. Things get crazy in these final games. Mumsy and Sato will continue their pursuit into the safe zone.
God.
Barely making it in HP wise. That 5 tick is so tough to deal with.
Luckily for them, everyone else a little bit too distracted with what's directly in front of them. These other teams caught up in separate engagements means that Sato and Mumsy will be able to just continue making their way in. Zangy though,
50 people.
stop them, hold them a little bit.
Alright, let's check on how long this live stream is.
When you're in this position, Levin, you almost want to see them just go for that immediate.
Oh, that was nice.
Every single time, because you just can't afford to second guess yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that was a decent pull for them. The only team that really
Havoc.
didn't give them any issues was Zangy, and they're able to just push past him in the end anyway.
Oh,
Oh, dearie me. Pixie, Swizzy.
Swizzy. I'm
Gotta
Swizzy.
get out of the kitchen, lads. Way too much pressure coming in. And they're struggling to deal with it. Pixie will just be able to be picked back
Nice shot.
up, but no. Fincheck and Church will make it awkward. The only benefit that Pixie
Good
has
fall.
is playing with one of the greatest players to ever touch this game, and so Swizzy will handle the pressure, get him back up, and they will continue this game. One Chug Jug being put to use isn't too bad, but a max distance pull on this zone is pretty
Pretty
bad. So
bad.
we'll see just how they fare with it here.
Oh, wow. Wow.
They were sort of leading the lobby
True.
into the next position, although they did
Except
pay a
Savage.
steep price for it. They're gonna have to pause, wait for Savage to recover some of those shields.
It's this up.
And now it's all down to just Savage and Truly trying to not get caught yet again. But it's just so difficult because
I really want Savage qualify.
everyone seems to be looking
Oh.
directly at them, despite the fact that they've created a little bit of distance here. And we've always got to remember, just off
God, I saw him edge for them.
they're also making their approach as Chap Flixie doing a great job at target practice. And Swizzy, he's good, but he won't be able to avoid pressure this time around. Just too many other players surrounding him, alongside the fact that Flixie and Chap are just non-stop spraying them. It's just tough scenes all around, but even Flixie and Chap
I will not be doing this for any other region because I cannot be bothered to live stream it.
elevated position currently.
Okay,
They're
and this is my region, Europe, so
can get a little bit of pressure in on. But
whatever.
we've seen high ground be taxed before.
And this is beautiful.
Let's see.
If you're a fan of these two, they aren't in a position where they're looking to take. They're in a position that is all about holding on. But they aren't taking that for granted. They are playing this game out clearly with intentions of doing as good as possible. Savage and True
A shot.
need to follow
No Savage,
footsteps with that sort of intent
really.
and push beyond them if there is any hope. But still so many points behind. They're gonna have to get fraggy, and they're gonna have to hope that Mumsy and Sato either fall within their sight lines or fall at the hands of somebody else in this lobby. Good pressure
Oh,
being
wow.
applied, but not able to get the credit for that elim. Again, every little helps when it comes to the points
Every
that this
little.
lobby tackle.
Do 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 do. Oh god, that. Do 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 Only people left. See, 30 plus.
Very tricky.
Oh no. This zone is really small.
Well, actually, take that back. We're situation was going to pose a pretty big threat here, but for Mumsy and Sato, this might actually be a huge beneficiary for them as they continue to just play things safe.
Savage and Truly are gonna have to really make things happen here at Wonky Land. And they're gonna have to do that in spite of all the other top teams left in this game. Mumsy and Sato, you saw just scouting height there for a second and not just scouting it.
What?
By force, Mr. Savage put
It's
down
the Savage.
Mumsy and
No.
Sato, crushing the dreams.
Mr. Savage dead.
Right now. It all
Choosy, I have to do something.
in an attempt
You need Mr. Savage Choosy
all in vain with just how Sato and
in
have played this game with the
the
poison
LAN.
and accrued. Overtaking
God.
this exclusive now, I believe. And what a play that really was. The rest of the lobby will start to get involved in the fight for height.
Choose better down.
And Sato might have just done enough there, Taco.
It all depends
15 now.
exclusively on whether or not Truly can actually fulfill
Truly.
these final moments, and the moment that he starts to venture
No.
forward, he is down to his last build.
That's
He's gonna
build,
have
no
anything
build
to
now.
sustain him.
No.
Only 3 overdrive grenades remain. Meanwhile, Momsy finding yet another elimination here. Just
And he's low health too.
distance.
Oh!
Truly, if he can get more
Truly.
starting to think, Izzy, Nosif, they might just be the cutoff metric now. And Truly, he's starting to build, but he needs this shot onto Scroll. He needs to get Siphon. He needs a
No!
healthy player, and Truly
Truly and Mr. Savage are not gonna be.
and Truly will find themselves looking on for the global championship later this year.
Big cheeseburger? Big cheeseburger. I'm gonna look in big cheeseburger win. Big cheeseburger. Come on, big cheeseburger. Oh, knocked.
Gets the knock, and now Arya will be next to fall. It's always heartbreaking at the end, though.
Oh.
We knew that only 3 teams could
Big
actually
cheeseburger.
earn their spot for the global championship in September, and man, what a day it's been, though. But yeah, big congratulations to Vigo Malabuka, obviously, for finding that victory royale. But we gotta see what happens.
Yeah.
Frankie.
Big cheeseburger.
We do.
One.
We were doing the maths during that last game, just trying to work out if anyone could overtake the likes of Izzy and Nosif in those top 3 spots, because obviously we had our eyes on Savage and Truly there and on Mumsy and Sato, and both of them were having a fantastic endgame. It's just a case of holding on to Carter, and now I guess our jurors will be nervously awaiting the results, and we're actually ready to see them. So let's find out who have booked
Yeah, let's see.
in Belgium, guys.
Let's see.
As you can see, Mumsy and Sato, after that incredible
Wow.
performance, they have done it. Even
Oh, that's so annoying. That's so annoying. That really is so annoying.
Izzy and Nosif. As expected, Mini Miner, the French have turned up in style.
They have. I mean, Izzy and Nosif, finally you can breathe. This is unbelievable. But Momsy and Sato, what a performance from those guys. There were questions. Were they actually going to be pushed by Mr. Savage there at the end? Were they going to have some
Right.
difficulties, of course?
Oh my, I'm actually gonna die.
They did. They showed up and they showed out here. In
Right,
this final
now we know who's gonna win.
get to them. They didn't crumble. They
Who won? Thanks for watching this live stream. I am going to die.
themselves. It was
Oh my god. Thanks for watching this live stream, Reapers. 2 hours long. Let me play the outro. I've been waiting for ages.
Saw how good they were at Lyon. We've now got 2 French duos.